The first warning came before she ever saw his face. Men at the station went quiet when her name was read beside his. Someone muttered that she should turn back while she still could. Another crossed himself. She stood there in a borrowed coat, hands shaking, mail-order papers folded thin as hope, and listened as strangers described the man who would claim her. Dangerous. Cold. A cowboy who lived far from town and farther from mercy. When the train finally stopped, he was already there, tall, scarred, unmoving. His eyes met hers once, sharp and measuring, like a man who had survived things no one should. He didn't smile. He didn't offer his arm. He simply took her bag and turned toward the horses. As she followed, fear pressed against her ribs, but something else was there too, an unspoken certainty. When a drunk voice called out a crude joke about what he'd do with her, the cowboy stopped. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't reach for his gun. He only looked back and said, calm as stone, if you hurt her, you won't finish breathing. The station went silent. She realized then, the danger everyone spoke of was not aimed at her. The cabin was small, rough, and isolated, surrounded by miles of wind and sky. That first night, she waited for cruelty, for demands, for the kind of fear she'd been trained to expect from men with reputations like his. Instead, he set food on the table and stepped back. He showed her where she could sleep, then took the chair by the door, rifle across his knees. He didn't touch her, didn't look at her longer than necessary. When she asked why everyone was afraid of him, his jaw tightened. He said nothing. Days passed like this, quiet work, shared meals, long silences. Once, a traveling trader arrived and let his eyes linger on her too long, his words thick with suggestion. The cowboy moved without sound. He stood between them, his presence a wall. You talk to me, he said evenly. The trader laughed, until he saw the promise in the cowboy's eyes. He left fast. That night, she finally asked, trembling, why he protected her so fiercely. He stared into the fire and answered, because no one protected the woman who taught me what love was. I won't fail twice. Trouble came the way it always did, loud, armed, and certain it could take whatever it wanted. 3 men rode in at dusk, claiming old debts, claiming ownership over things that didn't belong to them. They spoke to her as if she were property. She felt the old fear rise, the instinct to shrink. The cowboy stepped forward slowly, placing himself between her and the guns. His voice didn't shake. You leave, he said, or you learn why they warned you about me. One man reached for her wrist. That was the moment everything changed. The cowboy moved like lightning, violence precise and final, driven by a rule he would not bend. When the dust settled, the men were gone, some crawling, some carried. He stood there breathing hard, blood on his knuckles, eyes burning. She expected to see rage. Instead, she saw terror, fear that he had scared her, that he had become the monster others claimed. He turned away, shoulders heavy. I told you I was dangerous, he said. She stepped forward and touched his arm. Only to those who deserve it, she whispered. By winter, the cabin no longer felt lonely. Laughter lived there now, soft but real. She learned the truth of his scars, the losses that hardened him, the woman he couldn't save and the promise he'd carved into his bones afterward. He learned her fears, her strength, the quiet courage it took for her to stay. When the town finally came, expecting a broken bride and a feared man, they found something else entirely. They found a woman standing unafraid beside the cowboy everyone warned her about. When someone asked her if she regretted choosing him, she answered without hesitation. They were right, she said. He is dangerous. His hand tightened around hers. But only if you hurt me.